Hello, Central Mafia, and welcome to another session of our live streams. Finally, we had some bad luck last time with some Google Workspace going down, or the cloud going down, and we were not unable to have this. So we had to reschedule. I'm so excited to see you again and be able to catch up on the topics that we had for the last time. So before we get started, let's see why we're here. So we're going to do a quick update on the Automation Nation and what happened at IT Nation Secure. We're going to talk about automation for the MSPs. I am by myself today hosting because my good friend Sean Lardo, he's been sending me pictures from Mexico. So he won't be able to join. So he is enjoying some well-deserved time off, and we'll see him. We'll see him next time. You know what happens is next time I am off, so he'll be by himself. So, haha, there you go, Sean. So this is it's a community built by MSP for the MSPs. The purpose is for everybody just to come together, engage, learn from each other. We always want to hear your suggestions. So if you have anything that you would like to hear on these sessions, on the newsletter, on the Slack channel, or on the upcoming user group meetups, just let us know. We'll do our best to bring that in as we come together, make those connections. We'll learn from each other and continue to grow. Several ways to stay in touch. As you know, we have our Slack channel. There's that QR code. Go ahead and join our Slack channel. What you can do is just stay up to date on what's going on. So all the upcoming events will be posted there. And also, if you want to do it via LinkedIn, if you prefer to do that, there's that QR code as well to stay up to date on what is going on and what we're going to be doing next. All of these recordings also get uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you find this today to be very useful and you say it's like, oh, I wish so-and-so would watch this from my company or another partner, just send it over to the YouTube channel and they'll be able to review that. We do have our cadence. So we do have 2 live streams a month. One of them is partner-based. So we'll talk to one of the partners, and the other one is one of our vendor sponsors, where we're going to do some educational content that can help all the MSPs. And then we have our open mics. Open mics, what they are is we just open the session. We just start talking about whatever. If you have a question, we can talk about solutions. We have partners that even like go in and share their screen and they show cool things that they're doing. And we just hang out there for a little bit. And they've been awesome here lately. We do have our user group coming up, our meetup. So it is going to be September 17th, same location over at the Marriott at Burr Ridge. The pre-day is going to be the 16th. Most likely, we're going to have that cornhole tournament because we have a new champion, and then we need to be able to take that away from him. And I think a lot of people will be excited to take that away from Sean. So we're probably going to have that cornhole tournament one more time. A great time to hang out and have that welcome reception. And then on the 17th is our main event. Running all day with community updates, some breakout sessions. Tabletop topics, discussions. We just got off a meeting with the advisory council, which is going through this agenda and changing it a little bit. And with that is basically taking the feedback from everybody. So we're just going through feedback from the previous one and see how we can make it better. Again, the community is yours. So we're taking that seriously and make sure that we meet those requirements. So sign up. There's a QR code. There's the link to register. And also, once you register, you'll get the link for the hotel, so you can get the book rate, the special rate. So none of this can be done without the help of our sponsors. All these supporting all of our live streams, supporting all of our meetups. So thank you to ConnectWise, Nodeware Helped, Infima, Movola, and Sention for your support and for believing in this community. So thank you so much. Make sure that you visit those sponsors. So with all that said, what are we going to do here today? So last month, it was IT Nation Secure, the pre-day with Automation Nation. I've been going to those since the beginning of time. And it's amazing how much it has evolved and how much the tool has evolved. So we're going to do a quick review of all of that and see what what hyper automation means. What's new, what's available for that ConnectWise ASIO platform. Talk about RPAs, how MSP can leverage that. And I'm not going to do all the talking because we bring guests to these. So we have two guests with you today. One of them is Devon, also known as DBB. He's been with ConnectWise for a long time, back in the days of automation and automate. And I said LabTech. I don't know if you were back with LabTech, yeah, and RMM. So everything automation. So he's pretty much leading, automation and strategy within the ConnectWise platform, helping partners be able to leverage this, be able to scale, work smarter and faster. And also at Automation Nation, I met Richard, who is the founder and CEO of Decision Digital and MSP, and also a ConnectWise partner. He has a lot of experience when it comes to making sure that companies are ready for good service delivery. He had great examples on that during Automation Nation. We talk about how to get all that ready, and bringing a lot of the automation process into his organization. He's sharing this with the community, in order to have better outcomes. So Devon and Richard, welcome. And there you are. Thank you there, Director. How's it going, guys?
Going well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys now are on stage because Sean usually is the one that keeps me, on track. So otherwise, I'll just go on a complete tangent here, and I'll have to watch myself. So hopefully we can do a good job between the three of us.
If Simon only knew what he signed up for, now he's herding cats. he's going to have himself a very long day. I'm sorry.
Wait, is there a time limit on this? I didn't know if there was a time limit on this.
Yeah, I think at the end we can edit.
There we go.
Yeah, before he gets posted, we can edit it.
Funny.
So thank you guys for joining today and for being flexible, because we had that little hiccup last time. We had to, we were both like, what is happening? So for being flexible and being able to meet again. Super excited about having both of you, because talking about a lot of automation, and a lot of partners I think have talked about all both things like automation and AI, right? And how these two, like, they're separate things, but sometimes they can come together. And we're just going to talk about like what MSPs should be doing. But let's start with a recap of Automation Nation. Like I said, I've been through a couple of these, and it's amazing how much the platform inside of ConnectWise has evolved, and bringing this into for partners. And the nice thing, I think, it's all within that ASIO platform, right? So a lot of people are hearing like the ASIO, and it's a platform, and then it's just a platform. Then you have to put you have the tools on top of it in order to be able to leverage that. And this is a great one because it just opens to all the different products that are they connect to it. So DBB, I think you'll probably are better suited to talk about a little bit of what this hyper automation means.
Clearly, he is
for you guys, and how and
no pressure at all, guys. None whatsoever.
What's this whole hyper automation for you guys?
Well, you're absolutely right. The whole point of us moving more to a platform model and focusing on, I don't want to say focus because that kind of has a negative connotation in and of itself, but a lot of our energy is tied towards building the ASIO platform. So you have a one-stop shop for everything that you need. If you want to use our RMM solution that's on the ASIO platform, as well as our PSA option that's on the ASIO platform, because that was the biggest announcement that we had at Secure, if I remember correctly, PSA powered by ASIO. So we were able to move the entire or a majority of the solution over to ASIO platform. So now it's running on that hardware. So it's all in one place. You can sign up and then you just have those solutions. They're already integrated because they're all running on the same base layer of technology. And another major launch before that was more tied to secure was also PSA Pro, which is a bundled solution that they put together, which has powered by ASIO as well as Hyperautomation tied into it, as well as RMM. And I'm sure there's a PMM who is very, very mad at me because I'm sure I'm forgetting 3 or 4 solutions that they had tied into that. But the goal is to get someone, especially if you're just starting out as an MSP, here's a solution that solves a majority of your problems. Even if you're not ready for those problems to be solved just yet, you have those resources available to you. They're all tied together. You don't have to worry about, did I integrate them correctly? Because that's always the big problem. Did I put the right API key in? Did I put the right solution tied together? It just makes your life a heck of a lot more difficult. So those were the major automations or the major announcements from Secure. Automation Nation, which is what we were doing, where we're teaching people how to use Hyperautomation and all the RPA tools that we're putting together within that ASIO platform. Our focus was more, and this is something that I know I've talked to Rick about. I think we talked about it in England the last time we were doing Automation Nation there. One of the things that myself on the education team and all of us on the education team, we've always been really excited about the solution that they're building and how powerful it is. But we also know that MSPs don't have a lot of time. They're always busy. Trying to convince them to dedicate resources and energy towards building some of the automation that's going to make their life easier in the future is just really, really difficult. So the big announcement for us was the community exchange. It's brand new to the ASIO platform. We're going to give the entire community access to actually show what you've built and have that opportunity to share that with the rest of the community. We're going to have solutions that are coming from the ConnectWise team. I've been building stuff. The development team has been building stuff that's just going to be out there and available. And we also have some third-party vendors. So if you want to partner with them, they're going to have their own up-to-date solutions that are going to be available so that you can just say, hey, I want to partner with you, and you have access to all of their solutions, as well as just the community as a whole. If you want to just have, here's everything I've built, I want to make everybody's life easier, more power to you. We're super excited for that. And we're just building and building that. You're going to see a lot of workflows to start off with, but we're adding PSA workflows in there as well. RMM scripts are going to be coming in soon, as well as monitors. So you're going to be able to incorporate those into your solution, as well as some additional stuff. BrightGauge, I know, is really excited about it. So you have just your dashboards and your gauges and whatever you have. And we're just going to try to open it up to the whole community because that's always been our goal, just a full ecosystem that's available. Any third-party vendors who are interested, we're just going to keep talking to people and try to convince them to build stuff on that so we have that available for everybody.
Awesome.
So that was a huge announcement for us. Afterwards, we got an opportunity to talk about building some custom functions. We talked about how you can start incorporating hyperautomation into your workflow. A big thing for me is I know there's I think the average MSP has 25 to 40 solutions and different tools that they have to use. And it's just a nightmare trying to manage that and getting everybody the access level they need, making sure everyone has the right permissions. So heaven forbid you don't have your admin uninstalling a bunch of agents for your RMM or deleting the registry for 3,000 machines because that's never happened before, or things of that nature. We don't want people, we want to be able to automate these processes so we can take that human element out, so you can focus that human element on actually interacting with your customers, showing them the value, working on those interesting, cool projects that you wouldn't want to automate. The normal everyday business side, we're trying to get that all tied together, and that's the goal of hyperautomation as a whole through workflows.
Yeah. And Rick, I think from an MSP in a partner perspective that you've been working with this, one of the things that you mentioned and when you were giving your talk at Automation Nation, this stuck with me is make sure that you have your house in order, that you have all the things inside of your PSA ready in order to put all this automation. Sorry, my arm is huge, right?
I was going to say, are you doing this? Are you on the point, right?
Pull this all on top together, because you still want to have, when you talk about automation, I think something that's important is you have to make sure that you're clear on your processes and what you want that outcome to be. And you made a great example, how you're using service templates, right? It's something that is fundamental that I think MSPs should be using now for a long time by now, for a mature MSP, having those things in place. But I think it's very important to make sure that your house is in order, your PSAs in order to be able to do all this automation. Same thing for AI. I mean, you just have to make sure that your process is in place so you have that outcome.
ConnectWise is it's one of the things that when I talk to different partners, and Devon and I've talked about this a couple of times. We've been together about so often when I tell people about using the template features inside of ConnectWise, and they look at me like I have three heads. Or the fun part is they look at me and they say, wait a minute, you're using a different version of ConnectWise than I am, because I don't have that. And we just show them the build number at the top, and it's the same build number that they're running. And then it becomes a funny conversation of, well, they must have just added that a week ago. No, it's been there for a while. I think that what happens so often is that a lot of MSPs kind of build the plane as they're flying it. Remember, they're the smartest people that they know. Just ask them. And they will start to learn software. They'll learn just enough to get started. And then in a lot of ways, they want to figure it out on their own. They start wiring it up. And many times what they'll do is they'll replicate, pick the PSA they're coming from. They'll replicate whatever they were doing there as much as possible in ConnectWise. Why? Because it's comfortable and it's the way they've always done things. They miss out on some of the great things that are there that are differentiators for ConnectWise. You talked about one of them, Juan. For example, service templates. There's a template system that is inside the setup tables in ConnectWise that allows you basically to set up a template for all the different things that you do, down to the priority level, the board that it gets assigned to, the notes that are there of a checklist, for example, of the things that you wish to do, all the accoutrements, so that you're not doing the same thing over and over again with reset a Microsoft 365 PC or add this new user or whatever the case may be. The things that we do over and over again, why are you doing those things over and over again? That's the first thing. And the second thing, which really speaks to a lot of the mission of automation, especially as it relates to ConnectWise, automation is the orchestration of these different workflows that we have, these different robotic processes that we have, and the information that's in the system. The AI-powered portion of that and the machine learning and the workflow pieces, all the triggers, when you start to have consistency with that data, you amplify the effectiveness that these systems have. Mm-hmm. Why? Because Juan, you may say infected PC, I may see PCs infected. They mean exactly the same thing, right? But if you go to cull that data and you're trying to gather information or KPIs, there's a possibility that you miss out on part of the data because you're looking for infected PCs, but not infected PCs and PC infected. Engineers and technicians have this wonderful knack of releasing the creative genie whenever they're typing in the summary name of the ticket, and it's never the same every time, ever. So, and sometimes it's not even a language that a mere mortal can understand. So you really start to challenge the ability of even the greatest AI to be able to, number one, understand it. Number two, you put yourself really in a pickle because if you're trying to get workflows wired up to something that's happening over and over again, to take the human out of it, well, you have to focus, you have to have a trigger. Well, what's that trigger going to be? Well, it's going to be this. Well, does that happen all the time? Well, Juan calls it an apple and Rick calls it a banana and Devon calls it an orange. Well, they're all fruit, but how do I know? So, in Decision Digital, for example, we've got over 400 ticket templates. And I put that statistic out to people all the time, and they look at me and they're like, well, you must be some crazy maniacal business owner that people have to work for, right? They roll their eyes and they're just like, oh my gosh. But here's the reason. We have a template for everything we do, everything. And when I have a template, I get consistency. And when I get consistency, I can measure, I can anticipate, I can also program to that. So now take that and spin in workflow. Well, if I know where something's coming in and I know how it's going to be framed or I know how it's going to be profiled, that's predictable. If it's predictable, I can build a workflow that can automate part of that and even fire off a robotic process. Why? Because I know all the pieces coming ahead of it with a high level of precision and consistency. Most of the time I tell people, the time to be whimsical is not during the creation and use of a ticket. That's not the time. We want it to be rote. We want it to be predictable. We want to understand the results. And then we want to be able to measure that and say, based on these data points, I can either take this action or estimate the amount of time it's going to take to do it, or I can triage this ticket and get it in the hands of the right individual. So I think that we're really in this very interesting place when we talk about hyper automation. What I've tried to do with ConnectWise when I've been at different events, and Devon and I have been together at many of these now, is to broaden people's minds away from the tactical piece, which is the platform-based solutions which people are making, which are awesome, and start thinking about it from a strategic perspective of, well, maybe one piece is not the only thing. What happens if we start to string these things together and then we get a result? Oh, well, now that's awesome. When you start doing that, you solve the biggest problem that MSPs have right now, which is we can no longer solve problems with human horsepower. We don't have the people. We don't have the time. Devon's point, 25 to 30 platforms that are screaming at us every day, all day long. And by the way, they're a little bit chatty. There's a lot of information coming at you at one time. And think about this. 5 years ago, the average MSP had 5 platforms. That was tenable, right? And they were giving information, and those people could look at the information, evaluate it, triage it, make a mindful decision, and then go to work. Capture their notes, capture their time, move on to the next ticket. Now there are an average of 20. The statistic that's out there now is that on any given day, a technician has got 30 sources of information that are being fed to them every minute of every day. And not just the platforms. Think Teams messages, text messages, emails, nosy managers standing over them, asking them what the hell they're doing, all those things, right? So 30 different information vectors that they have to process, understand, figure out what it is that they need to do, squelch whatever is going on there from a noise perspective, and then effectively get the problem solved. Most of these people are the same people that were working with 5 platforms 5 years ago, right? But we've placed this gigantic burden on them to process all this information and make timely, relevant decisions, right? Hey, don't take more than 15 minutes to do that, or the house is losing. So when we got to that point, when we start to look at automation and the things that it can do, the first question we need to start asking ourselves is, what are the top 3 things in ConnectWise that I'm doing all the time, over and over again, right? We need to identify what those are first. And the second thing we need to do is identify the top 5 things that are consuming the most time. 2 different data points, right? And then you go to your team and you challenge them to take the tools that are readily available to them and automate those. And then you step back and you watch what they do. Are they going to struggle? Yes. Are they going to make mistakes? 100% yes. Are they going to learn? Absolutely. This is what we want them to do, because the reality of it is it needs to be, you need to build a culture of automation in your organization. And once you do that, when they get over the hump of the, I don't know what we call it, Devon, being terrified of it or thinking it's going to take your job, all that other nonsense that gets floated around, when they invest the time and they start to see what it can do, they get the ultimate gift back, which is time. And, they say to themselves, wow, I don't need to do that any longer. It's going to do it really, really well. I can go free up my time to work on this. And you know what? Life is good. I'm a happy guy.
It's the inertia. That's what I always call it. The one example I've been giving for over a decade that I've been teaching people to do automation between my time at LabTech, Automate, RMM, and Hyperautomation. It's when you first get that solution and it gets the most noisy person off of your back, that one office manager who will always call you 2 minutes before lunch hits with the same problem that you have solved for them every single time. And once you automate that and it solves it before they even get a chance to reach out to you, you've won yourself a person on automation. They will try to automate everything. They will come to all of my sessions. They will learn through all the documentation. They'll start giving me feedback on the documentation just so I know where I could get some more information out there, just so we can get them to do that. Yeah. Once you solve that like major pain point for a person, the other thing that I always like to say is, because it's true from the Phoenix Project, a really good book for DevOps. It's once you start telling people, hey, if you had a magic wand and you could just solve one problem, which problem would you solve? Yeah. And then once you show them that they can solve that with automation, they're hooked. Now they're just looking for the next thing that they can automate. They're looking to automate their onboarding for their clients. They're trying to look offboarding and just try to streamline that whole process so they don't have to deal with those emergency tickets that come in every single time from the HR manager who never follows instructions and always sends an email without giving you 3 days notice. So just getting some of those problems off of your plate and getting that stress off of your back, you're just going to have a person who loves automation at that point.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time teaching people that, and we run into this a lot. Like people will walk up to me, they'll walk up to you, and they're going to be like, ha, ha, ha. Like you guys talk a big game about this now in front of us. And, what are the casualties of all this, all the great work that you're doing? Like is the road behind you just littered with bodies that you've destroyed because you're doing all these kinds of things? We get asked that all the time. And the answer is, the goal of this is not to cost people their jobs. And I think that it's a huge misconception, and it's out there, and different people, when they take things out of context, they draw conclusions that are not valid. And the thing is this is not about costing people job. And I want to make sure that all the partners that are listening, if they're left with anything at the end of the day, is that the conversation is not about go automate the crap out of everything you're doing and then say, okay, well, you're out of here. That's not what this is. The goal really is you can grow your business without adding headcount. You can become a better version of yourself, because automation isn't about replacing people. It's about freeing people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about freeing your best techs from repetitive noise, and then freeing your ops team from tribal knowledge, and freeing your leadership from firefighting. That's really what it's about.
I once had, I got in trouble for this one, but I still stand behind my statement. I had
Again, a partner, or still?
It's a constant thing, but that's beside the point. I had a partner. He's like, well, if I invest all this in hyperautomation, if I start automating all these processes, then I can just let 5 of my techs go. And I'm like, congratulations, you're going to have 5 new competitors then in the exact same ecosystem. And if they were the ones helping you build that automation, then they're already going to be ahead of the curve. Your focus should not be replacing people. Your focus should be putting them in a place where they can do the most good, which is going to be your projects where you're really going to win over your clients, and focusing them on we've automated our house. Now that we're the experts on it, we can start talking to our clients about how we can start automating their lives. What problems are they running into that we can start solving for them? And once you start doing things like that, you now have a customer for life as well.
Yeah, it starts with the mindset, not technology.
Yeah.
It's creating that automation culture, like you said, Rick, and it's just to get everybody to think about that. Like, what are the things that are the biggest pain, or the ticket that is the costing me the most trouble. And one of the things that I share with with the team in here is sometimes we're used to doing things a certain way, because we have all these different tools. Like, oh, I get this ticket, I'm going to open now this portal, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this specific problem where the automation is in there. And you have to make that mind shift. It's just, now you're going to get that time back, and at the same time, you can, the engineers and the people, they want to learn more. So it's like, okay, now you can have more time to invest in this specific area where you want to, excel, or and be able to learn. And same thing with the management team. What are the biggest pain points in there that now it takes you 30 minutes. Let's just invest an hour today and automate that, and those 30 minutes are gone forever.
Yeah, even if it takes 3 hours to automate it, or 4 hours, or 6 hours to automate it, right? It's just when you start to do that, and for a lot of teams, once you get them around the corner, it almost becomes a healthy challenge to them of like, can I do this? And they'll start and listen. And I've seen it. Devon's seen it. People will come up with crazy stuff like we're smart guys and we think of a lot of stuff, even at running an MSP. And some of these guys will come up with stuff and you're just kind of looking at it going, that's pretty clever. I mean, that the way that you kind of strung all that together, and you get that result. Now, a lot of times these are purpose built for specific things that are within an organization because maybe they cater to a certain clientele, or they have certain compliance restrictions that they have, or they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? I mean, and that the other part of it is that sometimes you may not be able to get it 100%. Maybe you get it to 90, right? And 90% still better than 0%, right? Right. And on the ConnectWise side, which I find real intriguing is, you had prevailing people that were out here that offered some level of automation technology. Some of them that have been around for quite some time, right? And when ConnectWise started to look at offering RPA and really doing the heavy lifting behind, the engine behind, ASIO workflow, what they did is they kind of looked out there at the landscape of what people were doing, right? You had Roost on one end, you had PIA on the other, you had the legacy Automate stuff that was there. And they were looking at the things about all these different platforms that people really, really liked, the things that they didn't like, and perhaps the type of people who could use it. And let me make that last part a little bit more practical. In the beginning stages of this, when ConnectWise was envisioning it, they looked at people that were using Roost and they talked to partners that were using Roost because I was part of those groups. And the byproduct of those conversations for a lot of people was, it's an awesome platform and it does amazing things. Listen, if you want something to wash your dishes and paint your house and do all, you can probably script it, to that level. Automate was seen very much the same way. But the undertow that was there is that it took a very particular type of engineer who had strong scripting background, programming background, DevOps background to really sink their teeth into the Boolean logic that was needed in order to drive the creation of a lot of that stuff. And Devon's nodding because this is old school stuff for him, right? Yeah. So you had that on one end. And then on the other end, you had, say, the PIA approach. And the PIA approach in many ways was kind of like the Apple approach of, we're going to kind of pre-organize all this stuff and kind of do a lot of the thinking for you and organize it for you. And as long as you stay in our walled garden and our ecosystem, everything in the world's going to be rainbows, unicorns, and lollipops, right? You use our gear, you use our software. We're going to tightly control that experience so that you get a result. And listen, when you run something like PIA and you see the echoing of information, there, and you're just chewing on popcorn and drinking soda and watching it go through the process, for a lot of partners, that gave them a sense of utility because they actually saw it happening and they did not have to be a script jockey to do it, right? So when we were all having these conversations a few years back of, okay, well, where does ConnectWise fit in the mix? Because we're going to do this, I remember when the conversation, when I was part of one of the conversations where I said, I feel like we need to be in right smack in the middle to cater to these different parties. And we need to get to the point where if you want to create your own custom stuff, you can. If you want to have out of the box stuff that is there that you can either run right away or mimic, you can, but it needs to be in an interface that is very intuitive, drag and drop so that you can visualize the way that this needs to go, not be staring down Python scripting or VB or any of that other old school stuff, because the current generation of people that are running MSPs are not me. I'm 57 years old, right? I'm an OG in IT at this point, right? I walked the earth when Windows NT was around and you had to put service pack disks in and the blue screen of death meant, holy cow, I'm going to pull an all-nighter. I mean, I've been around that long. It's not my generation any longer. We are the guys that are starting to exit and step away. The generation that's behind me, many of them have never built a physical network on the ground. They never have. And the tools that are there, we have to cater to the audience that's there. Their knowledge is very deep in many areas. but the way that we communicate, the way that we speak to them and have them understand the way automation works is very different. I'm a belt and suspenders kind of guy. So this is what we had to be aware of. And as this started to formulate in the eyes of ConnectWise, they felt like they needed to have both. So it began with, here's canned ones that you can use. Go have at it and watch the greatness that it can do across the entire set of platforms. That was awesome, right? I can trigger something from here and it will do something here, here, and here, and they're not even in the same product family. Holy cow. You know what? That was like seeing night baseball for the first time. It was amazing, right? And then as time went on and the naysayers out there going, they're posers. Like they're just trying to do this or that or the other. And then they introduced custom actions and custom triggers. So now all of a sudden you've empowered partners to be able to say, well, if it's not in the box and it's not in the dropdown, with a little bit of effort, I can actually go build my own. And it will tap into just about anywhere inside of any of the ConnectWise products and let you do something, even if it's not just defined there already. And I share this because it's another common misnomer. I don't think a lot of people understand that the system has that level of flexibility and malleability where if it's not right there canned out of the box, okay, I challenge you. Hey, go build one. Go build a custom action. Go build a custom trigger. Have at it, man. And now with the exchange, when you do that, if you want to publish it and share it with the community, which IT Nation is all about sharing, hey, guess what? I just solved this problem. Let me share it with the world. This will overcome the same kind of issue that you're having. Maybe it's not in the UI. Maybe it's not in the PSA workflow engine, but you know what? Here's one that you can use. Go download it. Have fun. Pay it forward. Pure and simple.
Just a quick behind the scenes for how it worked when they were first building RPA out. There was a lot of pearl clutching, especially when it came to PSA, just because that team just did not care on best practices, because that's always been a huge thing about PSA. Here are the best practices. If you do this, your business will not be on fire.
Right.
Like that's just how that's how we taught it. That is how, if it wasn't in ConnectWise, it didn't happen, all that mindset. Just some of the things like expired opportunities, automatically resetting them or doing things of that nature. A lot of gas when we first showed RPA and having the ability to do that, or even just having access to the APIs just so you could do things like that. And the mindset was, we don't care. We are not going to run their business for them. When it comes to RPA, we are going to give you full gambit. If you have access to an API that can do it, more power to you. Feel free to go ahead and engage and build the solution the way you want to and automate processes the way you want to automate them. One of the things I'm working on, because I'm still learning webhooks, for those of you, that's custom triggers effectively. You have the ability to trigger a workflow from a webhook. My goal for the next couple of weeks, well, my goals have kind of shifted for several reasons, but one of the goals for my next lab that I want to do is passing on information from a webhook trigger to an external field in a script. So if, let's say you have a license for a new solution, they offer that license key for a per endpoint kind of thing. Once you get that webhook, you can go ahead and pass that on to a script over in RMM and just automatically install it without having to have anybody touch it.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's my three big area goals that I'm trying to get when it comes to RPA, just so I can start showing people more of the power of the solution, just so you can have some really cool ideas and get more interested in building stuff like this.
Yeah, that's amazing. That actually explains like the whole power of that tool. And Rick, you mentioned, you already have your custom triggers and actions, so you can, if somebody's not that experienced, they can start with that. If it's not there, you can actually place a request, because I've been in some of those calls. If you join the automation calls, and it's like, I would like to see an action for X. Most likely they will appear there later on. But it's a good part of being, nice thing about being part of the community and joining those calls is to make those suggestions. But you can also build them with the API calls, and then on top of that, you guys have the ability to build the bots inside of, create something additional programming inside of those workflows.
I think the big challenge is, and Devin, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think a lot of people they feel like they just bent over and they're staring down and trying to see the bottom of the well when they start to do this, and they almost don't know where to begin. Like I get it, I understand it. I played with all these these different platforms, or maybe they did something in ChatGPT which they thought was super cool, and now they're trying to extrapolate that experience and say, well, how do I do this inside of ConnectWise? Like where do I start and how do I get started and what do I start doing? And oftentimes I just tell them to try to pick something that's relatively straightforward, that a human does, or that an existing PSA workflow does, like looking at the stat. A new account gets created inside ConnectWise, and that account is set as active client, for example. I'm making this up as I go, right? And you can obviously have a workflow in PSA that can see that an account's been created or a ticket has been created, and that exudes some type of influence over it, whether it's updating a status or a type or something. I usually tell people, have a little fun, build a workflow inside of ASIO workflow that detects when a ticket gets created, and have it throw a simple note into the internal notes that says workflow ran. And just go create a ticket, and watch number one, how fast it happens, and see it work. And then if you say to yourself, okay, well, if I can do that, can I use that same kind of logic and then just go write the note and then change the status to some other status? Okay, we'll go do that, and then watch the effect. So you're stacking blocks in order to get to result. And I think you'll find that most of the people that are building workflows, they take this staged approach. They don't sit down with a whiteboard and then mind meld with it and then just start to draw out all these squares and boxes and connectors and say, okay, well, with all this if-then logic. That's not how it's done. And I think that's the other place that people just look at the model sometimes and they say, I have this blank canvas with these icons on the left-hand side, and I'm almost not sure where to begin. Start off with doing something simple, make sure that works, then add to it, then add more to it, then add more to it, or go find one that's already there, that's in there, that's been published, clone it, and destroy the hell out of it, right? Yep. Move things around, find out how it works, or look at the logic that is there and see, okay, I understand all this stuff. Before I change it, let me go create a ticket against XYZ company in ConnectWise and just set it as new and unassigned and watch what this workflow does, right? And you're almost reverse engineering, but that's how you get the level of comfort and you get the level of confidence. But so often they don't know where to get started. And oftentimes when they get started, I think they overthink it. They try to make it so overwhelming. They're trying to swallow the elephant whole in the very beginning. The way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And so do one bite, get it, make sure it works, then build on it. And before you know it, you're going to have this really beautiful, elegant workflow that's got multiple levels, that's going to look like a tree. And behold, you've automated 5 things that you do, and you just got yourself 10 minutes back on a ticket. Well, multiply that by hundreds of tickets, and that makes a huge difference. It really does.
Yeah, totally agree. Actually, when we came back from Orlando, one of the laughs that you guys had was, being able to create a project, that we did there. And I was like, oh, we can automate the creation of a project. We do that all the time, So I got with one of our project managers, like, can you just show me the, your SOP on creating projects? Of course, like, 35 steps in there, and working with, some of the other guys, like, man, that's tough, looking at all that. And I was like, let's just see if we can automate 5 of those, We can remove 5 steps out of that now that nobody has to remember to do those, and then let's figure out if we can do the other 20 or which of the other ones we can integrate. It's just like you were saying, Rick, just start simple, start with things that and they're out there, and then you can start getting creative in adding all the different components into it, and then just watch it, watch it grow.
Think about some of those things that are horribly time consuming that you do all the time: onboarding customers, onboarding employees. Right? So you create a ticket template in ConnectWise for onboarding an employee, for example. We have one that's already there for onboarding an employee. Think about all the things we have to do when we onboard an employee. creating security accounts, creating an email address, creating a 365 account. There are 50 things that we have to do that span multiple departments, right? All that's in a template. And when you marry that up, that ticket can fire off. When that ticket fires off, a workflow can trigger to do several things. And that workflow can actually go trigger an RPA, for example, to go create, as long as you know the first name and the last name of the person, and it's connected into your 365 tenancy, it's going to know exactly how to go out there and provision that account in 365. The only thing it really needs to ask you is, hey, what license level do you want to use when you do this? The same thing happens with, we taught this in London. We taught this recently in Florida. We created a system called virtual dispatching, which really, really blew everybody's mind, because I think that they saw what the subject matter was, but I don't know that they were ready to see what we had done, right? In terms of somebody emails a request into us, and through the use of automation and AI, that email gets read. Hey, we determined the sentiment of the customer. You know what? Devon's really ticked off. This has happened, and he doesn't like it. So we understand what his temperature level is. It comes in through a certain board. Well, we know from the board that came in and the contents of that email, we can automatically profile that ticket with a type and a subtype. The type is support. The subtype is M365. Okay, well, guess what? If I know that he's angry and I have a score for that, I know the type of ticket it is and the subtype I have. Well, if I know those things, I can reach into my library and I can apply a ticket template that's called password reset for M365, right? Well, if I can do that, well, then immediately I can look back at my history of tickets and say, well, every time in the 150,000 tickets that are in my ConnectWise that we've done an M365 password reset, the average amount of time that's taken is 7 minutes, right? Or 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? I can put that time in the ticket. And then if I know all that, I can take that ticket and I can stick it into a service board that's got round robin turned on, and the next available tech that's got the skill or the availability can handle that ticket. That whole process, on average, for every MSP out there, takes about 10 minutes to triage that all the way through. And that's if Devon sent all the stuff in the email where he just didn't say something like, my email's not working again, right? Something like that, right?
Help.
Right? So, believe me, I have people who send emails to us that say they're having trouble with their network. And we have a big thing that's there, that's a workflow that says, look, if this is urgent and everything's down, call us. Please just pick up the phone and call us. But they will email us anyway. And then they'll call 30 minutes later and say, why haven't you responded to my email? Is it urgent? Yeah. Well, did you call? Well, why would I do something draconian like that? I mean, come on, right? But the idea is, if I know that whole process takes an average of 10 minutes, and the automation that I was showing with this virtual dispatch, it takes that 10 seconds to run with a 90% level of accuracy. Okay? That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And there are a lot of smart people that are listening to this conversation who right now are doing the math of, okay, 10 seconds versus 10 minutes, average number of tickets that we have. They're backing into that number, and the bulb is going off over their head right now of saying, I want that. I didn't even know you could do that with the tools that are out here. This is not Star Trek stuff. This is not 5 years in the future. We've had this in place now for 6 to 8 months, using the technology that is there right now to automate that process. And here's the catch. The catch is it's actually doing something that I never thought of really using it for, right? The happy accident is what I'm going to call it. So the happy accident is we never let technicians in our organization create tickets, ever. It was done by a dispatcher. It was done by service delivery. It was done by scheduler. Why? Because a tech and an engineer's responsibility is to fix the problem, capture their notes, capture their time, move on to the next thing, right? Was it really within their purview to do the initial triaging and setting up of that ticket? We handed it off to them, right? Here you go, trying to set them up for success. When we put this in place for the first time in the company's near 30-year history, we allowed our technicians to start creating tickets. Why? we didn't have to worry any longer, because if they create a ticket based on an email that came in or a phone call that came in from you, Juan, for example, and they typed in the information, suppose they got it wrong. Suppose they typed in something and they tagged it different than what it really was. The AI and the automation is going to look at that ticket the moment it gets checked in. It's going to read the information, read all the stuff that's there, and it's going to say, this is not triaged properly. It's not categorized right. It's going to update it, and then the right template's going to get applied to it. So it functions as a safety net under our teams, because sometimes, I know, very rarely, sometimes they don't get it right. Right? Sometimes they don't get it right.
We're doing it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're almost out of time. So DBB, we've share a lot of information here for partners, how to get started with, a lot of the benefits with Hyperautomation. Real quick, if you can remind everybody just how to get started with it if they have not done this yet in their environment.
If you don't have any of the Hyperautomation tools available in your environment right now, the first thing I want you to do is go talk to your account manager. We have several levels of RPA that are available. And the great thing is the starter level is free. That's going to give you an opportunity of any ConnectWise product that you have, you're going to have access to utilize RPA to tie into that. And you're just going to be able to start your journey right there of seeing some of the solutions, seeing some of the things that we have available in there, trying it out and testing it out, and just trying to get your team more comfortable with it. That's where you can definitely start. That's the best place to start.
And if you don't know who your account manager is, because some people don't, right?
Right.
Just go to home.connectwise.com and log in. And in the top right-hand corner, you'll see who your account manager is and your partner success manager is, and just bounce a message over them, and they'll give you the love you deserve for sure.
Absolutely. And get started. And for those partners who are already on it and are going to be there, Rick, you do have some offers for MSP partners in order to take their Hyperautomation to the next level, right? So you have put together a plan, a program for MSPs to participate into that.
We do. They can, any partner can reach out to us, and we will absolutely. You can engage us directly. We can help you on your automation journey to marry these tools up and get really good, predictable results. Along the bottom, you can also see that we have an annual event that's held in Atlanta. This year, it's October 6th and October 7th. It's called Catapult Live. And the whole thrust of this is a 2-day workshop with just people that are in the technology space. We teach business, process, workflow, and hyperautomation, right? The theme of the event this year is building a culture of automation. So there are 2 tracks. There is a track which is going to be straight up, how do you start to automate your organization? And then the second track is an operational excellence track of when you start to have good business process and workflow, how does that drive and enable automation? So please come. We've got a coupon code that's out here specifically for the folks that are part of the group. If you're at Central Mafia, if you use that ticket code, you'll get a nice discount. Come spend 2 days in Atlanta. You're going to have a lot of people from ConnectWise and other groups that are there that are very astute at this. So if you want to ask questions and you want to be in a closed group, we keep it limited to about 100 people so that we can maintain that level of intimacy. You will leave a lot smarter than when you came. That much I can assure you.
Fantastic. So for those partners, if you don't have access to this tool, reach out to your account manager, get started. It's July. You have until October to, get ready, go to reach out to Rick to take it to the next level and be able to, build that a culture of automation. I think that's probably going to be our next messaging there. Just make sure that everybody has that in their ingrained in their brain. It's just that culture to make sure that we want to automate all those different things. So awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, I do have one more question for you, Rick. There was sent over here. So how well you made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
John Lardo totally gets the credit for coming up with amazingly creative things. There was an exercise that he did at Secure with the office technology folks, which we all had our backs to Sean. Sean had a table with peanut butter, jelly, and bread. It was a very good lesson, by the way. And the whole purpose of it was to talk about the importance of communication. And he had three of us trying to describe the process for making peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, we've all done it 1,000 times, but when you're not good with your words and you have a guy like Sean Lardo behind you, I probably can stop right there. But when you have a guy like Sean Lardo who was following word for word exactly what you're telling him to do, well, let's just say you don't get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You get peanut butter on the wall, you get bread all over the floor, and some other things. And what it really forces you to do is to have an attention to detail. So much so, like, for example, you would start off with, hey, grab the bread, put it on the table, all that stuff. It was to the point where we're like, okay, well, I've got the bread on the table. What do I do? Well, take the peanut butter. Where's the peanut butter? How do I get the peanut butter out of the jar? How do I unscrew the top of the jar, right? So it was a lesson in being very specific. We failed miserably. So at one point, we did first round, we did terrible. We did a second round of this, and he came to me and he said, all right, Rick, how do I start building a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And I said, you just go to ChatGPT and you type it in and it will tell you every single step. So it was fantastic.
It's an amazing story.
Fantastic.
You were explaining how the visual of it, how everything, which is
was the visual of me doing it, or was it Lardo throwing bread all over the place?
The second one.
Oh yeah. It was very entertaining, but it was at its core, it was a phenomenal lesson, and it was done very well.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being flexible again, for joining us on this on the live stream for the community. Again, everybody, just reach out to your account manager, get ready on that, build that culture of automation inside of your organization, empower your techs, get that time back, and when you are getting ready to get to that next step, reach out to Rick. He has a lot of experience and can give you a lot of knowledge and take you there. So with that, again, thank you everybody for joining, and we will see you here in 2 weeks for our next live stream.
Such a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.